Welcome to the Schuby Show, where sports, movies, TV shows, technology, history, and more come to life. Now, please be seated and get ready for some more never-ending nonsense with yours truly, Schuby.
This is the Schuby Show with yours truly, Carson Schubert, and you can follow me on Twitter at Radio Ruben. Today on the show, opening day is near, and that means I'm going to talk about the Minnesota Twins as their opening day roster has been made, and we will talk about that as well as just the roster in general and kind of my thoughts on some of the guys they sent down. We'll talk about transactions. Among them, Byung-Ho Park, one of the bigger moves, going down to AAA. They decided to keep Kenny's Vargas, so I'll talk about that. But first of all, don't forget to visit our website, www.theschubyshow.webs.com. We may have been having some difficulties with that, so we'll try and get those fixed. And eventually, soon, we'll be having our own website without the... we'll be buying our own website that will hopefully not have those same issues. But if you know somebody who is knowledgeable with sports, movies, TV shows, technology, history, or just think they'd be a good guest for the show, please contact us via our website, or you can also find us at our email address, theschubyshow@gmail.com, or on our social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all at The Schuby Show. So please let us know if you've got an idea for a guest. We had Zach Douglas on earlier this week to talk about the Raiders moving to Las Vegas here potentially, and had a good conversation with him. If you didn't get that episode, please check out episode number 3 of The Schuby Show with Zach Douglas, a Raiders fan and a former writer for the site I write for now, the Armchair All-Americans. So without further ado, let's get in to the Minnesota Twins active roster. And actually, before we do that, let's take a look here at the recent transactions. The Twins in the last 5 days, they assigned Cole Stewart to the Twins, which I don't think he is anymore. Actually, I'll redo that. But one of the bigger moves also, the Twins did not keep 2 catchers on the roster. John Ryan Murphy was optioned to Rochester today. And they also optioned the terrible Buddy Boshiers. He was awful in the last 2 appearances he had of spring training. And obviously, I'm not even going to tell you the Twins' record because I could really care less what their record was in spring training because we know how well that went last year. So we will not talk about that. We also an interesting move by the Twins. They named their 5th starter, Alberto Mejia, who was a trade chip that they got in exchange for Eduardo Nunez from the San Francisco Giants, and I think there might have also been another piece or 2 involved in that trade. Don't quote me on that. But the Twins naming Mejia their 5th starter over Tyler Duffy was really the main competition for him. They also had some other guys competing as well at a time, but it kind of came down to Duffy and Mejia over the last week of the spring training here, and it's still not over yet. But opening day is Monday for the Twins, and it officially starts on Sunday. Have not looked at the actual schedule for that. We'll talk about that later. But let's take a look here at the active roster for the Twins. Well, let's take a look first at the 40-man. We'll start with pitchers. Pitchers, Matt Belisle, Jose Barrios, Buddy Boshiers, Craig Breslow, JT Chagua, Tyler Duffy, Kyle Gibson, Justin Haley, Phil Hughes, Felix Jorge, Brandon Kinsler, Trevor May, who's on the 60-day DL. That's kind of a sad injury. He's going to be out for the year. with a torn UCL or something in his arm. I think he's going to have Tommy John, so definitely sad to have that happen. But Alberto Mejia is also on the 40-man, obviously, if he's the fifth starter. Mason Militakis, Ryan O'Rourke, Glenn Perkins, Ryan Presley, Taylor Rogers, Fernando Romero, Randy Rosario, Irvin Santana, Hector Santiago, and Michael Tonkin. Those are all the pitchers on the 40-man roster as of right now. And for catchers on the 40-man, we only have 3 right now. Jason Castro, he'll be the opening day starter and likely will be starting for the first series all around because Twins don't have another catcher on the roster. Mitch Garver also on the 40-man, and John Ryan Murphy is also on the 40-man. Looking at the infield, Ihir Adrianza, I think, is close to how you pronounce it. He's a switch-hitting shortstop / utility infielder. I kind of liked him. I think he did some good things in the spring, but he hasn't done much in regular season play before. Brian Dozier, obviously, Eduardo Escobar, Joe Mauer, Jorge Polanco, Miguel Sano, Kenys Vargas, and Engelb Vielma, I believe, or Engelb, something like that. And the outfielders on the 40-man roster, Byron Buxton, Zach Granite, Robbie Grossman, Max Kepler, Daniel Palka, Eddie Rosario, and Danny Santana. So, Park. I don't even think Park he didn't even make the 40-man roster. That's pretty shocking, actually. So he's not even on the 40-man roster right now, let alone the active 25-man roster. So, there's an article on twinsbaseball.com or twinsmlb.mlb.com. Says the Twins reassigned Park and named Mejia the fifth starter. In addition to those moves, Twins also optioned J.R. Murphy to AAA, reassigned J.B. Shuck, Eddie Rodriguez, Benji Gonzalez, Matt Haig, and Ben Paulson to minor league camp. And that is basically it. Apparently, Kenys Vargas won the competition, which I'm shocked by, because I don't think Kenys Vargas had nearly as good a spring, but I think he also may have participated in the World Baseball Classic, if I am not mistaken. Spring training, he had 15 at-bats, 1 hit. So he did have a run batted in, or 2 runs batted in, and he scored a run. But it was a little shocking. Let's take a look. I will actually take a look here in a moment at Kenys Vargas' spring training numbers here, or World Baseball Classic numbers if I can find them. Before we do that, we'll take a short break, and we'll be right back. You're listening to The Schuby Show with yours truly, Carson Schubert. Welcome back to The Schuby Show, and I think I figured this out. So, Kenys Vargas played in the World Baseball Classic for Puerto Rico. He hit .222, a .417 on base percentage, and a .556 slugging percentage, 2 home runs, 4 RBIs, and I believe 1 home run, 2 RBIs, and 4 strikeouts. That is that number, I believe, yes. So, he didn't even have a good World Baseball Classic, but I think I figured out why. I think Vargas's options are gone, and the Twins still had options with Byung-Ho Park, so they decided to bring Park down for now and see if Vargas can do anything. And if he can't, then you've got Park as the backup DH or backup first baseman to Joe Mauer. So I think that's what they're going to do, roll with Vargas for now and see how it goes. And that is basically it with Kenys Vargas. Now let's take a look here at the Twins depth chart / active roster. So let's start at the bullpen, and then we'll work our way to the starting lineup after through the defensively starting lineup. Obviously, we don't know the exact starting lineup that Paul Molitor will roll out there, but I will come up with an idea of what I think he will be rolling out there. Bullpen, Brandon Kintzler, who could be the closer until Glenn Perkins. Well, they have Perkins listed as the closer also, and it says Perkins will open the season on the disabled list, and also Ryan O'Rourke is to open the season on the disabled list also. So Perkins could be back maybe not even till May, just depending on how his recovery goes, what his velocity is at. If you remember the last time Perkins pitched, his velocity was in the low 90s, and as a closer, and as what he's used to throwing in the 95 to 97 mile an hour range, that is not good, because once you're used to throwing fastballs by guys, but now you're just giving it right down the middle to them, and they don't have the option, or you don't have the, you had to adjust to your pitching style now, because you got to hit your spots instead of be able to blow it past somebody. You're not going to blow it past anybody at 91 in the major leagues, I don't believe. If you do, then you got lucky. Ryan Presley, also part of the bullpen. Taylor Rogers, Matt Belisle, Craig Breslow, Tyler Duffy, Michael Tonkin, and Justin Haley. And that is your bullpen. Brandon Kintzler will start the season as the closer. I'm not so hip on that, even though he did have a good year last year. It might have just been a fluke. I don't know. But hopefully he does well, obviously, as I'm a Twins fan, so hopefully he does well. Now taking a look here at the starting rotation, we'll start with Adalberto Mejia, as he's the fifth guy in the rotation. And number 4, they have Phil Hughes, who had a very injury-riddled last season. Obviously had a big extension. The Twins signed with him after his first really good year with the Twins, when he set the record for best strikeouts to walks ratio, I believe it was, in Major League history. Of course, then he does bad after that, just the Twins' luck. Then at 3 in the rotation is Kyle Gibson, and then the Twins put the acquired guy from last year from the Angels, after the Twins so smartly and somehow got rid of Ricky Nolasco, who knows he might be do well in L.A., but he was not doing well with the Twins, so they got Santiago, who didn't do very well in his time here last year, but I think he's got the ability to pitch well for the Twins as a second starter. I don't think he would be a second starter on most rotations. He'd probably be a 4 starter, maybe a 3, but neither is Irvin Santana. He's not a number 1 starter for most teams. I mean, yes, he had a phenomenal, I think over his last 18 starts last year, he had a 2.43 ERA, which is outstanding, but most teams would have him pegged as a number 2 or a really, really good number 3. So that is where the Twins' rotation is right now, with Mejia still developing, and of course Barrios still learning the curves. Maybe he'll be a bust, who knows? But that's kind of where we're at right now. So taking a look now here at the... Well, I think the active roster must be wrong, because Chris Jimenez is the backup catcher to Jason Castro. He was not listed on the roster for some reason. Take a look. But he is listed here, so and there's no indication that he's injured either. So taking a look here. Jimenez, the backup. We're going to do backups first, because I just love putting you guys in suspense of who the opening roster is, even though it's pretty obvious, I think, who most of them are. Jimenez, the backup catcher to Castro. I said that already. So you know who the starting catcher is, Jason Castro. Eduardo Escobar and Danny Santana. And I think that's it. Those are the three bench players right now for the Twins because they've got a 13-man bullpen or pitching rotation. So that is it. And then you have your starting lineup for the Minnesota Twins. Playing first base, number 7, Joe Mauer. Yay. And playing catcher, I think he's number 21. I know I'm a great PA announcer, right? Number 21, Jason Castro. And I'm not saying these in the correct order that the PA announcer would probably say them either. But I will say them this way anyway. Playing third base, number 22, Miguel Sano. At shortstop, I can't remember his number. Blank, Jorge Polanco. At second base, number 2, Brian Dozier. In left field, I can't remember his number either. I'm bad at this. Eddie Rosario. And in center field, number 25. I got that right once, finally. Byron Buxton. And in right field, again, I can't remember his number, but Max Kepler. And that is your starting defensive I don't know how you'd say that. Your starting defense. There you go. For the Twins. And playing the DH, or the designated hitter, Robbie Grossman. So there you go. That is your starting defense, as obviously Grossman's not a defensive player, but coming up here, I will say just a quick assessment of this roster. I am a little bit disappointed that the Twins are keeping so many pitchers on the opening roster. I always, yes, I know I play MLB The Show, and always when I play MLB The Show, I have to have my 4 bench players. You've got to have your catcher. You've got to have your guy that can kind of give you some pop off the bench, like a pinch hitting situation. You also have to have your utility infielder and your utility outfielder. Those are the 4 positions I like, and the Twins have covered 3 of those. And I understand that Santana can play multiple positions, and obviously Escobar can too, but Chris Jimenez coming off the bench as a backup catcher and whatever you want to say, big bat off the lineup pinch hitter kind of guy. I don't like that. I would much rather have seen a Byung-Ho Park stay on the 25-man run. Thinking football for some reason. 25-man roster and not have Justin Haley, or a Justin Haley or a Taylor Rogers, one of these younger guys who probably still have options. Maybe they don't, but still. I would rather have 4 bench players. I just always like 4 bench players because you never know when you have an injury in the middle of the game and you're forced to play a player where you don't necessarily want to, and then you need a pinch hitter later in the game. Yeah, you need to have 4 bench players. You just do. And maybe the Twins will change that after the first week of the season, depending on how it goes. But I am not necessarily happy with a 13-man bullpen. 13 guys on the pitching staff. So that's just my thought. I think Byung-Ho Park should be on the roster just because of how well he played in spring training. And other than an injury last year, he had kind of a wrist injury, and that really can affect your hitting. But I think that Byung-Ho Park can still be a pretty good player for the Twins, as maybe not a everyday player, but like a bench player, like a guy that can come off the bench, occasionally be a DH, maybe be a full-time DH eventually, just depending on how he develops. If he's healthy, if he can adjust to the game here in the United States, I think he can be a good, solid DH. Maybe not a 30 to 35 home run guy, but maybe at least a 20 to 25 home run guy, which the Twins would take, considering Their DHs from the last how many years have not done anything, really. So, yeah, that's my take on the Twins roster as of right now. And when we come back, I will give you what I think, not what I think the Twins are going to have, but what I think the opening roster or the opening day lineup should look like. And I'll have that coming up right after you hear some more elevator music right now. Welcome back to the Schuby Show. It is now time for the Minnesota Twins 2017 lineup presented by me. It is my prediction of what, or actually not my prediction. This is what I think it should be, the lineup I think it should be. All right. Let me get my PA voice going here. Not Paul Allen voice, my PA over the, yeah, you know. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, your 2017 Minnesota Twins starting lineup. Leading off, number 25, the center fielder, Byron Buxton. Batting second, playing first base, number 7, Joe Mauer. Batting third and playing second base, number 2, Brian Dozier. Batting fourth and playing third base, number 22, Miguel Sano. Playing right field and batting fifth, number 26, Max Kepler. And the DH, batting sixth, number 36, Robbie Grossman. Catching for the Twins and batting seventh, number 21, Jason Castro. Playing left field and batting eighth, number 20, Eddie Rosario. And batting ninth, number 11, shortstop, Jorge Polanco. Your Minnesota Twins starting lineup. Thank you. Hold the applause. All right, and now it's time to play some over under on the Minnesota Twins season. We're going to first do on the wins, and then we're going to do some players here. And some numbers for players. You're going to really love number 3 if you're a Twins fan. All right, first of all, over under 83 wins, which is what they had last 2015, excuse me. They were 83 and 79. I am going to say cautiously over. I'm going to say 85. The Twins will not. They will not win more than 90 games. I'm sure of this, but I am going to say they win 85, and I'm going to say Kansas City is in second place, just above them by no more than 3 games. So Kansas City is going to win maybe 88 games, but I am not so high on them. I think Detroit could have an opportunity to take that second spot, but I do think the Twins will finish third in the AL Central this year, whether it's Detroit or Kansas City flip-flopping at 2 and 4. I don't know, but there's no doubt to me that the White Sox will be in the cellar this year after trading Chris Sale and I can't remember who the other guy was, but they're also trying to trade Jose Quintana, who's their best pitcher now. So I think they're tanking. So I'm going to say 85 wins for the Twins, third place finish in the AL Central, missed the playoffs, but it was another good season. Or it was a good season, considering the expectations maybe it weren't as high after last season. But the Twins are kind of on the cusp again. So that's my prediction. Hopefully I am wrong. Hopefully I'm better. If it's wrong, I'd rather it be better, not worse. But now let us do this. We're going to play over-under again. Now 70 home runs over-under between Brian Dozier and Miguel Sano. And I am going to say under by 5 or less. Just because I think Sano will probably have an injury in the middle of the season again, or at some point in the season that might hold him back a little bit. So I'm going to say 65. I think 65 is the minimum between those two for home runs, unless both of them just have a terrible year, which I don't think. I don't think so, because Dozier just had 40 home runs by himself. So I'm going to say 65 between the two of them this year, and maybe more, just depending if Sano has an injury again. So that is my prediction on that over-under, 70 home runs between Dozier and Sano. I'm going to say under. Now, this one you're going to love if you're a Twins fan. Over-under 2 lame Joe Mauer injuries here this season. I just thought of this. I thought it was going to be funny. Hopefully you're laughing at home. If not, then I do not know what I'm talking about. Anyways, Joe Mauer, 2 lame injuries this year. Another bilateral leg weakness, another brain weakness, whatever it might be. I'm going to say even. I'm going to say it will be 2 lame Joe Mauer injuries this season. And an over-under for this Twins starting shortstop spot. 3. I have an over-under of 3 different starting shortstops for the Twins this season, not including Eduardo Escobar because, well, I guess I should include him even though he's the utility guy, because obviously Jorge is going to give up some games to him, but I'm going to say it will be even also. I'm going to say Twins will have 3 different starting shortstops throughout the season between Polanco, Escobar, and maybe that Adrianza maybe will be a part of that too. He's not on the active roster right now, but he's on the 40-man. He could have the potential to get there eventually. And my final over-under is for Byron Buxton. Batting average of .275. Over-under for Byron Buxton. And I'm going to say over. Byron Buxton is going to hit .280 as the Twins' leadoff center fielder. And I think he's going to have a pretty solid season. Maybe .280 is not as good as you would like from a leadoff hitter, but I think that's what Buxton's going to do here this season. So that is my Minnesota Twins opening day edition lineup and my thoughts on the roster and what they're going to do this season. So let us take a look at the info for this coming baseball season and let you know what is up. So, let's see. April 2 is opening day, and here are the games scheduled for opening day. There's 3 of them. First one is Yankees at Tampa Bay, or at the Rays, and that game will be on ESPN at 12:10 on April 2nd, 2017, Sunday. And then the San Francisco Giants go to the Diamondbacks. This matchup I'm really looking forward to if I get a chance to watch it. I'm not for sure if I will. That'll be on ESPN2. It'll be Bumgarner and Greinke going head-to-head. Greinke obviously had a terrible year last year. Hopefully he can get it together this year for the Diamondbacks. But if Greinke pitches up to his potential, that could be a pitcher's duel right there. And yes, I do enjoy an occasional pitcher's duel, but sometimes, yes, I agree. If you get too many, then it is boring. But that could be a potential pitcher's duel right there. And then the nightcap at 7:35 on ESPN, the Cardinals hosting the Cubs. Carlos Martinez scheduled to be the starter for the Cardinals, and John Lester for the Cubs. It's surprising that it's not Arrieta, but interesting. Maybe is Arrieta hurt? I don't think he is, but just never know. But anyways, those are your games for starting on opening day this Sunday, and then the Twins will follow at 3:10 the following day. They will be starting the same time as the Dodgers and the Padres, and also the same time as Detroit, Chicago, and Philadelphia, Cincinnati. So the Twins will be sending Irvin Santana to the mound to face Danny Duffy with my starting lineup again. My starting lineup, which I think it should be, Byron Buxton, Joe Mauer, Brian Dozier, Miguel Sano, Max Kepler, Robbie Grossman, Jason Castro, Eddie Rosario, and Jorge Polanco. I try to not have two lefties next to each other in the lineup, but with the Twins having Mauer and Kepler and Castro and Rosario all lefties, it is really hard to do that without messing up what I wanted for my lineup. So I had Castro and Rosario hitting back-to-back 7 and 8, and then Polanco I kind of like. He's kind of a speedier guy hitting ninth, and then you can have another speedier on-base guy like Buxton. Hopefully he'll be a good on-base guy hitting first. So you got speed back-to-back there between Polanco and Buxton, and Rosario has some speed ability too, so you can almost have three guys in a row hitting that have speed potentially. So that is my prediction. Probably won't be right because Paul Molitor will be dumb and put Brian Dozier as a leadoff batter, which a guy that hits 40 home runs should never lead off. He should always be a 3 or 4 hitter, always. Brian Dozier, 3 or 4. Molitor, if he's anything more, if he's a number 1 hitter or even a number 2 hitter, I'm going to be upset. I literally am. No way Joe Mauer should be hitting 3rd anymore. No way he should be hitting 4th. Maybe make a case for 5th, but I think 2nd is the best place. I've heard rumors that they are going to put him as a 7th hitter against lefties, which would be interesting, but I still think you keep him as 2nd hitter against lefties because he still hits lefties pretty well, I think, from what I've seen. I don't have numbers to back that up, but I think he still can hit lefties pretty decently anyway. But he will have 2 lame Joe Mauer injuries, as I said in my over-under. So that is going to do it for this episode of The Schuby Show. We had a good week with Zach Douglas joining me earlier this week to talk about the Raiders moving to Vegas here in the next couple of years, so please check that out. Also, we talked about March Madness and my selections and the other guys' selections for the Final Four. Please check the You Don't Know Jack show out. Episode 31, as we talked about that, NFL news, and NBA talk, so please check that out. And I am also now a part of the Norse Code podcast, the number 1 podcast for your Minnesota Vikings, so please check that out as I will be occasionally hosting a show, and that is going to be a lot of fun. Arif Hassan, who is the guy that really was the starting point of that podcast just because of all his knowledge. I will get an opportunity to talk to him about the Vikings and just get a little piece of his brain thrown at me a little bit analytically. He's got a great mind. He knows what he's talking about when it comes to stats and everything else related to the Vikings. So please check out the Norse Code podcast, the most recent episode that was released on Wednesday. So that is going to do it here for the Schuby Show. Don't forget to check us out on social media and our website. And if you have an inquiry about the show, want to come on the show, email me at theshubyshow@gmail.com, or find us on social media, or if you know me, just call me or text me or whatever. So please do that. And also, if you have any ideas of what I should do a show around, please let me know. For Carson Schubert, a.k.a. Schuby, I'm signing out. We will see you next week on The Schuby Show.
Thanks for listening to The Schuby Show. We hope you mildly enjoyed yourself with more never-ending nonsense with yours truly. For more nonsense, go to the website, theschubyshow.webs.com. Get the show on iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, Stitcher, and TuneIn Radio. Until next time, Skol.